Hey guys, so thanks for tuning in. I'm sure you're all as disappointed and furious as I am with that match. Obviously, look, the last maybe 20-25 minutes, fantastic spectacle, great football match to watch, really entertaining, but there's no excuse, no reasons why United should not have come away with all 3 points from that game. Or at least, the absolute least, a draw. There's a catalogue of errors that we'll pick through in due course. Tactically, overall, from a tactical perspective, I think United did okay. I think most of the sort of decisions in terms of formations and stuff, Ole got it right. He put the right players in the right areas. And bar the sort of first maybe 15 minutes of the first half, United were pretty good and I would say were the better team in the game. However, this game was lost not from a tactical point of view, but from a string of high-profile, shocking errors. So look, I mean, we can go through them in any order really. Look, Fred shouldn't have got sent off. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, there's no excuse for having seen what Fred did in that first half. He shouldn't have been on the pitch in the first half anyway. There's no excuse for seeing him back out on the pitch after half time. You know, one stupid thing like that happened. He makes a bad touch, loses the ball, goes in to try and win it back. Yes, it's probably not a yellow card. He probably wins the ball in that challenge. But you're giving the ref a decision to make. Of course you're going to get sent off. Everyone could see it coming. It was an accident waiting to happen. And then look, the other calls Ole made, I'm not sure why he's taking off Cavani. Unless he's not fit, why is he bringing off Cavani when we're going to have to pump the ball into the box? We're going to have to try and score goals. But then, the next key point. Anthony Martial, you're 5 yards out. You've got 3/4 of the goal to aim at. You cannot be missing that. And look, in terms of a way of explaining what happened with Anthony Martial, the only thing I can think of is he's looking to the right of himself there. He's looking across and he's seeing out the corner of his eye Keylor Navas just trying to recover, just getting across that goal line. So I think at the last minute, possibly he has sort of seed of doubt in his mind, thinking, okay, well, if I'm shaping like this to shoot, I might put it too far to the right. Navas might be able to save it. So I think he tries to adjust to put the ball further towards the left of the goal, out of the reach of Navas. And I think he readjusts at the last minute and ends up in a strange body position, sort of leaning back with his head up, and that ball sails over the bar. But look, that's a sort of basic, maybe a technical explanation of what might have happened, but there's no excuse whatsoever for Martial missing that. Now look, those are the sort of main mistakes, but from a tactical point of view, if we break down the game, that's what you're here to see. And look, it worked well for a large portion of the game. The things I really enjoyed seeing were, look, the fullbacks going forward a lot, especially Wan-Bissaka linking up with Rashford. Yes, he may not have been the best passer of the ball. He wasn't sort of creating many sort of chances by himself, Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, he got the assist, not really a proper assist, but yeah, it counts. But look, just by being there on the right, he's taken the attention of the defender away, and especially in the second half, as we'll come on to see, he was actually pretty important in giving Rashford the space to be so effective himself. Now look, going back to the start of the first half, obviously the first 15-20 minutes, United were under the cosh. And the main reason for that was just we weren't anywhere near compact enough. The gaps between the lines sort of vertically, so from Harry Maguire here to Fred, the gap between that defensive line and the midfield double pivot was far too big. And then the same from the midfield to the attackers. And what that meant was that when PSG, through the likes of Mbappe or Neymar, got themselves on the ball here, they had a lot of space to drive inwards, making dangerous diagonal runs. So Mbappe was driving in, making those runs into those central areas. And sometimes he'd be sort of behind Fred, in which case Fred's taken out the game. Then McTominay would have to go across and cover. And if McTominay missed that, which, you know, Mbappe and Neymar are skillful players, they can beat a man, then Lindelof or Wan-Bissaka gets sucked in. And it gives space for either Neymar out wide or Neymar in central areas, depending on who's been sucked in and where on the pitch they've been sucked to. So in that sense, it's an issue that United have probably struggled with all season. And it was sort of augmented. PSG did try and exploit this a bit further at the start of the game by Mbappe standing in a really nice, picking up really good pockets of space between Harry Maguire and Telles. And they're obviously dangerous areas to be picked up in because you're sort of giving those two players a decision which one's going to track him. If Mbappe suddenly moves out, at what point does he become Telles' man? If he moves back in, at what point does Harry Maguire take over? And what normally happened was, obviously Maguire's quite slow. You don't really want him in a 1v1 with Mbappe. So Telles was coming in, trying to keep tabs on Mbappe, and Florenzi was having a lot of joy out on the right-hand side there. And Verratti was making some nice passes from midfield into the path of Florenzi, who played that ball back across into the box, and Neymar was getting beyond the defence, making some nice runs, and looking to get on the end of the crosses. But, to United's credit, we weathered that difficult spell, probably partly because we're in good form. You know, the players are feeling sharp, mentally prepared, doing well in the game. We weathered that difficult spell. And from then on, from the rest of, well, pretty much until the Fred red card, United were really compact in defence. Whether we went into a deep block, sort of on the edge of our own box, or whether we were sort of pushing up in the opposition's half, pressing, when we were deep, we were really deep, but the lines were close together. Rather than having massive gaps in between the lines like we saw, the midfield and defence are close together, and then the defence to the attack are the midfield to the attack are close together. It's really important that you do that because it shuts down the spaces. It means that if you get the likes of Mbappe on the ball, even if they do get that there, it's really difficult for them to find those gaps in between players, which mean that they can beat those players, commit more players, and create havoc. So being compact was so important for United, and why we were much better towards the end of the second part of the first half, I guess. And look, even when we were pressing as well, the same thing happened. I think a lot of people a common misconception is compactness is just when you're sort of defending deep, you're in a low block. When you're pressing as well, it's equally important. You need to make sure that if the forwards are going, the midfield are going, the back four have got to come up with them. And we did that well. I was impressed because oftentimes you are worried when United are pressing. Look, Maguire and Lindelof, they're not the quickest. Are we going to be exposed? But we went with it and we stayed compact. We got the defence up the pitch and we did genuinely cause PSG problems. Yes, when we were moving the ball slowly, in that second part of the first half. We weren't really progressing it and creating chances by playing through PSG. But just by having the ball and being compact, we're able to sustain our attacks, retain possession, and just sort of build a foothold in the game. And that was really important in terms of maybe not so much creating chances off the bat, but shifting the momentum slowly in our favour. Looking at what the other thing that was important was the other sort of key factor in that first half, in our sort of good performance towards the end of it, was Marcus Rashford out here on the right. What he was doing so well was PSG, to be fair to them, in that first half they were quite compact. The front three did track back and sort of sit in nicely. But what Rashford was doing was when he got the ball in these spaces, he was driving at men. He was always sort of looking to pick out pockets, whether it's going inside there, going out round Diallo, going in between Diallo and Kimpembe. He was always looking to drive and commit a defender. And he was so agile in that first half. It was really good to watch because if he went one way and the defender went with him, he'd just turn the other way and go past him. Rashford was quality in that first half. And to be fair to him, Aaron Wan-Bissaka really, really helped him out. Because, as I said, it wasn't just so much that he was sort of playing nice passes, incredible balls, sort of Trent Alexander-Arnold-esque. He wasn't doing that. It was just his presence being higher up that gave the defence something else to think about, another sort of player to worry about in that area, and made that job for Rashford that little bit easier. So look, in that first half, I was pretty pleased with the way United were doing things overall. Now, we came out after half-time, and PSG decided to change their shape a little bit. So rather than this basic 4-3-3 that they were playing, the front three, so of Moise Kean, Mbappe and Neymar, they were much less willing to track back than they were in the first half. Much more reminiscent of what we saw in the first leg, with those three in particular staying upfield all the time. And what they had was Danilo Pereira. He dropped into a back three and they looked to push Florenzi and Diallo on. Now, for the brief period of time until Fred got sent off, until the goal and when Fred got sent off, things were looking really promising for United. Defensively, we were really secure. We had Fernandes, Fred and Scott McTominay all staying really close together. So obviously Solskjaer had told them at half-time, you three stay compact in those central areas and let the wingers stretch the game and get Joy out wide. But those three being compact was really useful in terms of us regaining the ball and made us much more solid defensively, I thought. But going forward, we had a lot more joy again, because what was happening was Diallo was getting baited out by Aaron Wan-Bissaka when he was on the ball, allowing him or McTominay to play nice easy passes out wide for Marcus Rashford to take on Presnel Kimpembe. And you know what? Marcus Rashford did a fantastic job. Took him on really well, beat him a couple of times. It was looking really promising up until that fateful moment, everything changed. So, obviously Fred, very silly, but we conceded a goal from a corner, a set piece again. As Harry Maguire came out and said after the game, scrappy goal to concede, not what you want to see from United, but it happens sometimes. You can't be too frustrated at that. The things to be annoyed about are Martial missing his chances and Fred getting sent off. But look, up until things started to change, with those two key moments, the goal for PSG and Fred getting sent off, United tactically were having a really, really good performance. The fullbacks were really important, pinning back the PSG sort of wing backs as they became, allowing our wingers to get Joy out wide. And it was really nice to see that United were sort of improving and looking to stamp our authority on the game. It was fantastic that after all this time, we weren't just sitting back and defending against a fantastic top-class European team like PSG. Obviously, they made the Champions League final last year. we were actually able to genuinely go toe-to-toe with them. So it was nice to see that improvement in a way. Even though the result didn't go the way we expected, overall, it's good to see that we have made strides forward. Now, in terms of what happened tactically after the Fred red card, there's not really a lot to say because, I mean, at that point it was United sort of just having to throw everything forward for the ball, and all semblance of sort of tactics faded from the game to an extent. And look, it was United having sort of Maguire, Telles, Lindelof sitting back. Everyone else pushed forwards trying to go for that goal. Obviously, we made the changes. We brought on Pogba, brought on Van der Beek, brought on Mason Greenwood. Obviously, Odion Ighalo towards the end as well. That was a strange one. I'm not quite sure why Ole took off Edinson Cavani to bring on Ighalo. But yeah, an interesting one there. But look, at that point, all semblance of sort of tactical systems and that sort of disappeared out of the game. PSG went from their 3-4-3 system that they started the second half with to taking off Moise Kean and ending up with more of a 3-5-2, which made them a little bit more solid, but it was a really open game for a lot of points, which made it fantastic and really entertaining to watch. A lot of space about, and I genuinely enjoyed it, even though we didn't come out with a result, so I'm pretty annoyed, pretty furious about that, fuming to be honest. But it was an enjoyable watch towards the end as things started to open up. In terms of tactics, though, there's not a lot really that can be said about that. You know, Scott McTominay was absolutely everywhere, driving up and down the pitch. Harry Maguire had a really nice run, ended up in the opposition box, controlling the ball on the half volley on his left foot, playing a nice ball into, I think, Bruno Fernandes, who was in the number 9 role at that time. But look, tactically, United played well. The game was lost elsewhere. Martial's misses, Fred's red card, Ole's poor decision to not bring Fred off at half-time. That's where the game was lost. But the positives to take from it were that we genuinely went toe-to-toe with a European elite club, and we should have won that game. Based on the chances we created, we should have been winning that game. So that in itself is a positive, as is the fact that we once again had a pretty strong tactical performance. So overall, really disappointing result, and like all of you guys watching, I'm gutted by this. But there are definitely some positives to take from it. So that rounds out my tactical analysis of the game. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you've got any comments, please do drop them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, until the weekend, I guess, until our next game, thank you so much for watching and see you next time.